is coming. 7th semester, I can remember the faces, most of them. Very few look exactly the same. 3 years since you started here, and you're in the final semester. This is actually one of the first reports where you got feedback from me. This actual system is a system we still use even in the 7th semester. It's basically a checklist.
Is the mic on? God, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is the mic on?
Yeah.
I'm afraid if it is lightning or... It's much better.
Okay, back to the 2nd semester. If it was in green and these dots here, basically it's well done. So the whole idea about this, since the 1st semester, 2nd semester, 4th semester, elective subject, we've been working on exactly the same system. And what is the system? Well, there's an official guide, which we do use. Yes, you know, into project management, officially, Bachelor of Architectural Technology and Project Management. I'm sure you'll notice the difference when you start in the 1st semester. If not, ask for your money back. There's something gone wrong in the last 3 years. If you go right back to the start of education, that was one of the first tests you ever had with me. I was interested in looking at people who were good at thinking, working with other people who are actually doing things. And again, one of the very first things you ever saw with me, talking about writing reports was this. And asked the question, yeah, how many rainbows?
I would honestly leave it.
I also asked the question, what was the difference? And the one at the bottom, it was red at the top, and the one at the top there, it was the other way around. And this is the whole idea, thank you very much, Pierre. This is the whole idea of this philosophy of science, the theory of science, that basically what we hope you leave here at the end of the third 3.5 years is this idea, there's still lots to learn. And I've made this point many, many times, but at my age, I'm 66, when I was a student from the very, 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 very first time in my life, I thought at the age of sort of 21, I knew everything. Yeah? No longer, absolutely no longer. So much new knowledge is coming on, the world's developing and constantly, that you've got to keep on wondering. Yeah? And the next one, of course, was asking about this. Can you see a rainbow at night? Again, we're going back some years, the answer was yes. That surprised some people. Has anyone seen a rainbow at night? I've only ever seen it once in my life, and I've looked and looked and looked. Okay, but let's go on. Yeah. Important facts, 7th semester, a dissertation should be 30 pages. Yeah. And 30 pages. You know the rules about each page. Each page should be roughly 2,400 characters. The name of your consultant, there's a list on StudyNet. Some people haven't quite got that, but there is a list. Get hold of them. You hear me say this many times, some of these consultants are much better than others. Make sure you get a good one. Your problem statement, you've written a problem statement before. Your research questions, you've written research questions before. They must be approved by the consultant. I would get that done as quickly as possible. I have known consultants come to me and say, this person's just sent me his research questions 3 weeks before the final handling date. They weren't very good research questions. In fact, they were terrible. It must be uploaded by March the 27th at 12 o'clock. There's all rules about that, but if you ask at the library, they'll help you to do that, but that's the final date. You can look at something called How to Upload a Dissertation, or talk to the library staff. I really do recommend you talk to the library staff. Fantastic people. Very, very helpful. Right, there's three things. Start on StudyNet, you'll find the official study guide on StudyNet. It looks like that. It's quite a big document. It's got lots of different sections, but everything we do here is based on this StudyNet official guide. The other thing, start on the StudyNet, use the Dissertation Checklist. That's what I showed you from the second semester. This one's 7th semester checklist. If you go through this section by section by section, you'll actually find out you've done everything. I really recommend going through that section by section. I also recommend getting a friend or friends to go through your thing section by section. And if you can't do that, it can't go wrong. Simply cannot go wrong. There's something called Scribo DK, obviously something to do with writing. And you can log on through the library. It's got a WAF, where are you from, so you can put in your VF password and stuff. And you use it. You can use this as a website. I've also made this as a Word document. I think the Word document, in my opinion, is a lot easier to use. I've made it as a Word document. And if you go back to the study guide, you talk about this pentangle thing here. We talk about going through 5 different stages to work out what you're planning your actual piece of research. Excellent system, and it takes each corner of this pentagon and it answers some questions. Again, that's in StudyNet. If you work your way through that as a piece of paper document like this, one of these, it would be a big, big help in planning. Also, when you sit down with your consultant, at least you've shown, you've thought about why you're doing it, where you're going to get your information, data from, what sort of theories you're going to be using, and what's it all based on, and the final thing, how you're going to do it, your methodology. It's all there, very easy to print out, it's only 3 pages. If you go through those questions, I promise you, you will have organised a lot of your special study.
I just have one question.
Yeah, please, anytime.
Yeah, can we integrate this pentagon scheme in the actual dissertation, or we don't?
No, I don't think it's in the actual dissertation.
Okay.
It's a planning tool.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do a dissertation? Number one, you have to. It's the final proof that you've done a bachelor level education. It's got to have an original piece of academic research. The 21st century has got a lot to do with research, finding out new things. We're talking all the time about innovation, and we're talking all the time about communication and internationalization. Yeah? And above all, it can be a fantastic career path. There are a lot of jobs out there for people who can do research. It can save you a lot of money. It can save the company a lot of money. And if you can document for a company, if you're looking for a definite career, that you've already done some research on that, they'll be very, very interested indeed. The building industry is not famous for research. They might have building industry research institutes, building industry research parts of university. But I think many, many countries, people do things the way they've always done them. Yeah? So Denmark's famous for its modular systems. Britain is famous for its steel structure systems with cladding. France is famous for concrete structures. It's part of their culture. You're young, you're international, and find out what they do in one place, you could use it in another. You go back 15 years, I remember one teacher telling the student it's impossible to get beams this wide. Can't be done. So the student went into the net, he was a French student, he went into the net and showed that they could get beams this wide plus 2 meters more if you wanted them. I remember the teacher going, wow, that's fantastic, I've never seen that system before. A lot of people in the building industry have never seen that system before because they're interested in what they do, where they come from. If you're talking about innovation, being creative, one of the easiest ways to be creative is open your eyes, open your ears, and just watch. You don't have to invent something that's already been invented. And there's a huge amount of stuff out there based on research, simple research, what can we actually do. I've shown this one. A lot about research is wondering. I wonder why. I wonder why not. Does anyone know the building? Does anyone know why that big hole is in the building? It's obvious it's to let the dragon out, the dragon that lives in the hill. Of course you knew that, didn't you? Don't you know that? Everyone knows that in Hong Kong, other parts of China, there are dragons, and you've got to let a hole in your building to let the dragon out, or you are in real trouble. And so the people designing this building, they made a wonderful hole. It's one of the most expensive parts of the city. It's cost an awful lot of money to make this hole in the building. Yeah, I don't think many people in downtown Horsham will be making holes in buildings to let dragons out. And that's another thing about research. You might actually find out that people think in a different way, and it could actually be a better way. Don't know about that. What is the truth? The top building shows planning in Beijing in China, all looking this way. The bottom part shows a part of Paris design. And again, this is wonder, why do they do this? And this is all got to do with something called Shen Fei, where you're designing buildings to maximize the sun, and certain parts of the houses face in certain directions. Again, it's a thing. I don't think any Danish students are that much interested or even understand the cultural things like this. And I'm sure there's lots of things that in Denmark would have always done it that way, or we tend to do things that way. And this is the amazing thing called what is the truth. And what is true to you might not be true to other people. And again, as international students, good luck. Yeah? Just looking in another country, you can always find out that you do things in a different way. Use your consultant. I'm going to be very, very diplomatic and say some are much better than others. Yeah? Some of them, to get them out of bed in the morning, you've got to kick them. And if you don't turn up and use them, they won't be coming around chasing you up, or to say, have you done anything, or things like that. I've actually seen that in your project, you're supposed to get signatures to show that you've had a consultation with a consultant for your project. I think they should do that basically for your final dissertation. It's 50% of the marks. Use them, and I really mean use them. And get them to read things. Don't wait until a week before the examination, where they could tell you that what you've done is a load of rubbish, or they don't understand it, or it's not a proper report, etc., etc. This one, ask them for examples, ask them for inspiration. If you want real examples, use the library. They're great for that. They'll certainly help you with that. But I'll make that point very, very clearly. Use your consultant. Don't expect them to come running to you. Really use them. Make sure that you both understand what you're expected to do and what they can actually offer you. Do they know anything about the subject that you're actually trying to do research? Hopefully, yes. If they don't, could they suggest other people? They're not supposed to be super experts at everything. And above all, try to work out the different phases of the project. First of all, your problem statement, research questions. Once you've done that, you've got those approved, then you go and find out all the analysis, all the different data, all the information you can find, and finally you put it all together and you make a nice document to show that you've done it. Discuss it with people. Yeah? And as I said before, use the library. They're lovely people. They'll find copies. Above all, they'll help you regarding reference. They can help find materials. But I like to think about this college, one of the greatest things about this college is use one another. You're all doing the same thing. Ask people to look what you've done, you look what they've done. And use that checklist thing. We'll come back to that checklist. If you do this with a checklist, you've done a good dissertation. Sorry this isn't Danish, but this gentleman called Mr. Whitehead, I think he did this in the 1950s. He actually suggested that if you lived many, many years ago in the old Roman days, the average life was 25, 30 years old. If you were 40 years old, that was old. It really was old. And the average life of a Dane today is 78 if you're a man, it's 84 if you're a woman. So there's a big difference between Roman times. And this is how old they were living. So people have gradually got older and older and older. If you're a little baby girl in Denmark today, 1 in 2, 50% are expected to be 100 years old. That's what we expect. And this is how things have changed. So, for example, if you were making houses here, you could expect 2, 3 generations more would still make houses in exactly the same way. What has gradually happened, people have got older and older and older, but knowledge has got shorter and shorter and shorter. Students are already working with 2020 building regulations, and where the houses are supposed to be zero energy, not use energy. And this is going to happen for your lifetime. So the idea of leaving college with this nice little piece of here's my degree, wow, aren't I clever? Go home, show it to your grandmother, put it on the wall. It's good, brilliant, but in 5 years' time, a lot of the things you actually learn, they may actually be a bit too old-fashioned to be new technology. And that's the great thing about living today, or some people might say the sad thing about living today. So this knowledge is getting quicker and quicker and quicker, so the whole way of thinking is that we've got to keep on learning for life. It wasn't just the idea that once you were finished as a student, you'd been finished for life. You knew it all. Seriously, when I was 21, a lot of people thought that. You got this wonderful degree, you found a job for 40 years, then you went on your pension. That's all. But that's not true. There's so many things happening today that you're always going to be doing research. And there it is. When you first came here, first 2 semesters, we talked about this learning to learn. 3rd, 4th and 5th semester, we talked about being professional students. I'm sure you have been very professional. And that was learning for your professional life. And now we're talking about this thing called lifelong learning. And when you go back to actually starting here and becoming a project management, you did that little test with a little funny triangle right at the start. You're using your head, analysing things. You're using your feet and hands, actually doing things. But above all, using what we call the heart, working with other people. And in my opinion, a lot of research is actually working with other people, seeing how other people see things and how things can change. And the Danish government are going crazy trying to get people to innovate. And just, they're not just going crazy, they're going to spend a lot of money doing it. We had a big conference at this college about a month ago, and people are really trying to get our students to be much more innovative. And the trouble is most Danish people are not that interested in becoming their own business people. They far rather work for other people. So only 6% of Danes are interested in starting their own business. In other countries it's well over 50%. Okay. Yeah. But that's the most important fact from that. Get all the consultants and talk to them. I'll just say, yeah. Any questions so far? Anyone super effective? Oh, coming back. Try to see. And, right. Start with that one. The final report guide. It's no.
Try Windows P.
Windows
Plus P.
plus P. Yeah, I've got that. Just done that, but I can't move the thing onto the duplicate. Okay, this is the thing about writing reports. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Very, very big document. It's meant for all the way through, mainly 4th and 7th semesters. And it's a classic. It's got introduction, and it's got all these sections. The important thing is about this, if you see any of these numbers in the section, they're also referred to in the other parts of the actual report. So that's the basic reporting, and it goes through background, using the theory. So if you want to, if you've got nothing to do one night and the disco's too expensive or something, sit down, or you can't sleep, you could go through and read all of this. It's meant as a reference thing, that's the main thing. So if you want to get stuck, look up the different section and find out what it's all about. There's the actual Pentagon model, which is in the report. What are we trying to find out? Why is it important? What specific data are we looking for? And it's called the Pentagon model. And if you go into the Scribo DK or a Word version, you can actually use the same thing. Referencing, there's lots of word reference tools. The library will show you one called RefWorks. There's also referencing tools in the word system itself. Okay, plagiarism, which means what? Basically copying. It's become a huge, huge issue. Not in this college, but in Europe. And your actual final dissertation will be uploaded to a university in Holland. Everyone in Holland who gets a degree, their dissertation is uploaded to a university in Holland. They will put your dissertation through a magic computer program, and they will write back to the college how much is copied from other sources. Of course some is copied from other sources, like building regulations, things like that. But if it starts to get up to 99.5%, people are going to get very, very worried indeed. 2 people last semester, they actually did hand it in a totally copied report. In your fall semester, you wrote an elective subject. You can, of course, use that material or that subject as inspiration, but the teachers will know what you did in the fall semester, and if they have a suspicion it's just a fall semester report with 5 extra pages, that would be big, big trouble. People have tried to do that. It's not just the college, it is Europe, it's all over the world. People are getting very, very worried about people just copying and copying and copying. Everything's copy-paste and nothing's original. So I wouldn't even think about it, Mike, and make sure it's original. Or that you're very, very good at making sure you've changed it so it doesn't look, that's another skill. It's not just students. There was some American people have actually been found guilty and sent to prison for selling master's degrees, selling PhDs. You could become a brain surgeon, $50,000 for the degree and $120,000 for the PhD, then get a nice job at the hospital doing brain surgery. But only they didn't just do that, this company, they actually guaranteed people that they would follow their career. So if you sent in an application to some hospital, they would send a reference back to these people, say, yes, I've known this guy for 20 years, the best brain surgeon we've ever had. He's operated on 6,000 patients, we only had 1 who died. They would do that for the rest of your life. You had to keep paying them, but that was the service. It wasn't just giving you a nice piece of paper, it was a lifetime service. But plagiarism is very, very important. Please, please, please. Technically, the college can throw you out without a degree. The 2 people who they found out last semester, they were actually warned and given a chance to sit down and rewrite a completely different special study, starting right from scratch. But technically, they can just ask you to read without a degree. Okay, again, if you go through this, you'll find out what's in a report, from the front cover, the blanks, all these things. But this is so simple. Not waste much time doing that. But if you go back to the other ones, let's have a look at the checklist. The checklist looks like this. Basically, once again, these are the numbers. I don't think you can do this on yours. Oops, that's wrong there. I should be able to open these actually. Yeah. That was that Scribo thing I actually talked to you about, the one that you can use as the 5 parts of the Pentagon. It's a planning tool, and it actually basically puts your problem statement. If you go through these step by step, it's just a rough guide. I'll show you the report. So basically all these things, like these are all up on the net somewhere. Basically, if you go down each section of this report guide and say, have I told in my abstract, for example, you look at your abstract, have I told the subject why I did it, the main aim, the reason why I did it, my perspective? Have I written my problem statement research questions in the abstract? Have I told a little about my research method? Have I given my main conclusions in the abstract? And have I got a list of 6 to 8 keywords? If you go through down every single one of these, then you can't say you can't below. You'll get feedback from your teachers when you've finished. It'll look like this. It's got the college thing on, it's got your name, the title, they'll give you a grade and they'll give you a final comment. These are the main things they're actually interested in. But again, that's on the net. And that one's got to be included in your actual report one. It's the title page, title, dissertation, you consult, the author, your student number, the date, signature, number of copies. This is just basic stuff you've done before. Any questions whatsoever? Referencing, you get a lot of help in the library about referencing. If it's over 40 words, that's how we expect you to reference something. Yeah, that's an indent here, a line before and afterwards, and you actually give this gentleman Knowles 1980, and in the actual final list of references in the books, you'll actually find a book by Mr. Knowles in 1980, and it will tell you the full title of the book, and of course you tell what page it's on. This is only come in the last 10 years, and people can actually find out what page it's on. Before that, you have to get the book and read the whole book to find out where the reference came from. If it's under 40 words, you just actually write it straight in the text. Biggs 1995, again there'll be a book somewhere in 1995, and it's on page 35. That's the main thing about referencing. If there's one area I really recommend you work hard on, is references. Let's try and find an example of one. Yeah, if you look at the front cover, strangely enough, this photograph was actually on television that night. The 2 gentlemen on this end and this end both came from the same village in Ireland, and they'd actually gone back to the village in Ireland and found the family and talked all about them. That was on 2 nights ago, I think it was on television. But this is the gentleman who's done it, his consultant, the college, etc., the title page, and he's gone through his abstract, his keywords, table of contents, could be better, list of illustrations, there's the old thing about it being in cursive italics, and introduction, problem formulation, problem statement with his nice single question, that one, what's involved, any specific research questions. There's this thing called delimitation, which is what's not in the report. How he did it, it's based on quantitative research. And again, if you find that thing about the report guide, it actually explains somewhere here about the different types of research, quantitative, qualitative, and it also explains about different perspectives on research. His theoretical background, and this is what it ended up looking like. 30 pages, if you're thinking about doing 20 pages, I'm not going to say no, people are going to say no, it's far too short. Depends on the quality. If you're thinking about doing 100 pages, I'm not going to say people are going to say it's far too long. It depends on what's involved, but you've got to get it approved by your consultant.
But there are just pages with the abstract there.
It actually says it's the actual start of it. It's not the title page. It actually starts at your abstract, and it goes to the. It's not your list. It stops before the list of references. Your final conclusion. Electronic references, references from books. You've got to say which date you actually viewed the electronic reference. It's becoming much more common. If you've been on the internet, you've got to say which date you're actually on the internet, simply because they could change it the day afterwards. Referencing is so important, so important. The biggest difference between a 4th semester and a 7th semester one, please get the references right. My favourite trick is to start writing references straight away, making a big long list of things I'm going to use, and then I can just copy and paste, put them into my report later on. Okay, that's it. As I say, I think everything is on the net. I think you all know where I actually live, it's obvious. I'm pretty good with my time. If you need help, please come and ask. But please, not the night before you've got to hand it in. English-wise, I think the standard of English in this college is amazingly high. It really is fantastic. But it's like everything else. Some people here are brilliant at doing structural design. If you find somebody to look at your report, it could be great. Please just have a look through this, read it for you. If somebody seriously needs help because they've got big problems writing, please come and ask. We'll try and sort something out. There's no way you should fail this education because you're not the greatest man at writing. Bob will talk to your consultants about it. Yeah. You'll certainly find teachers here who don't think report writing is all that important. It's more important designing buildings and stuff. There'll be people working on building sites quite happy digging holes, putting things in the holes and other things for years. But there are also an incredible number of jobs if you are interested in doing research. We have got some of the first people employed by the European Union. And the only reason why they got the job is they could actually document that they've done original research in the building industry. We got the first students at Oxford doing a master's degree in architecture. And one of the things these places are interested in it, can you do academic research? Great opportunity to do academic research. If you went back 15 years, I think most people would have sort of said, "Whoa, academic research, that's a joke in the building industry." But I think people can make a huge, fantastic career if they're interested in something like this. That's my opinion. But I know it to be a fact. Okay, it's on the net. And if you need any help, please come and ask. My advice. Oh yeah, one final comment. We had quite a few students last semester who decided to say, I'm not going to go to the exam. I'm not going to do my examination now. I'm going to go and do it as a sort of being ill examination the following semester. Not a lot was that was listed in these special dissertations. I certainly don't recommend that. I think to me that's pretty stupid. I think it's a bit sad. People finish shaking hands. Other people not shaking hands and then sitting down. I've still got to do the work anyway. March the 27th, what's the date today? The 20th, it's just over a month. Not a fantastic amount of time to be honest, it really isn't. Get on with it. But nobody's finished it. Yeah? I'm serious, we are getting people who are doing it in the 6th semester. There's one gentleman got a bit bored on his practical placement, he said, I didn't. So he actually started to do his special dissertation because there's a lot of things in the company he could actually use on his dissertation. It's a bit late now, but I think it's going to happen quite a lot. Starting to tell the 5th semester to think about it. Yeah. Otherwise, happy enough? Anyone regrets starting the education, wants to go become a nurse or something like that? A lot of money out there, I promise you, some very good projects out there. I don't think you'll go wrong. And do you all know that CIAT, Chartered Institutes for Architectural Technologies? I've said this many times. Do you know the story of that? It's a British organisation, the Chartered Institute of Architectural Technology. Look it up on the net. You can become members as a student. You can also become a member once you've qualified, but you have to pay. Do you know they've recognised this education? Yeah? At honours level. Do you know what that means? In the British University there are 4 different classes of degree. Third class, you get a third class degree, everyone laughs, you had a good time at college, great parties, but you didn't learn anything. But they still give you, it's about getting a 2 in an examination. Second class, reasonable, then you're up to a 4, maybe even a 7. First class, you're on about a 10, and honours level is 12 plus. They've actually recognised this education as honours level. And the CIAT are insisting that if students come here on exchange, they come from the honours programme at their university. Honours degree programme, not the same as the rest of the university, you do a special programme. So they think that this is a fantastically high standard of education. Not only that, if you're a member of this and you're working after 2 years, the guy said, well, not very few people would do it after 2 years, most would do it after 4. But you can actually go to these gentlemen in the United Kingdom and say, this is the work I've been doing, and this is the standard of the work I've been doing. Will you approve me as a full member? And if you become a full member, then in the United Kingdom and many other countries, you get the full legal powers of an architect. Now that doesn't mean to say you become an architect. Yeah? You don't suddenly show them and suddenly start becoming, oh, the world's greatest architect. So you get the full legal powers of an architect in the United Kingdom, Canada, India, many of the African countries. And that's because this has got a tremendous reputation. So it could be a career thing later on. But the only reason why I've done this is I think basically we've got such a fantastic standard. They looked at everything in the education, all the different projects, and of course they looked at the quality of research. And they were absolutely knocked out. They were comparing it with British students doing British reports, and they thought they were fantastic.
Was this done last year?
Say again?
Was this done last year?
Yeah, they've just done it.
Yeah, some of us, we were among the group that went there to present the projects for them.
Okay, thank you very much. We should give you an extra bonus. They've just got the official, but they've been doing it for about 4 years, keep going back. And every time they come back, they say, wow, this place is just knocked out.
They were also telling us that we should participate in some kind of competitions that they have with the projects that we are doing here, because the standard is so high that we are working at high standards.
Yeah.
So.
And my understanding is they want to become very internationalist. So I think they're going to make a big thing about getting international students to win the competitions. You've got to win, but what used to happen, you never had a chance. The British guys always win. But I think they're opening it up so that they can win. These guys are seriously, unbelievably impressed with the quality of your education. Not least because you learn things that British students don't know. They're not allowed to learn them. Because they have this guy called a quantity surveyor. We don't have them in Denmark. And this quantity surveyor is the gentleman. You've got the architect, the quantity surveyor, and the engineer. They're the mafia of all building projects. They control everything. And the quantity surveyors in England simply will not allow architectural technologies to learn certain things because they're the ones that control it. It's got a lot to do with money and taking out how many quantities and stuff like that. So you're actually learning a lot of things in your project management that they don't actually learn in That's another thing that we're really impressed with. So if you're not impressed with the education you got, I'm certainly impressed with the education you got. And good luck in 40 years' time. Anyone planning to retire before the 30, or are you going to wait till 35, or already ordered a Ferrari? Or? It's a good life. My final story. When I was born, 1948, there was 2.4 billion people. You're already up to 7.4 billion. It's going to be 9 billion before 2050. So there's a lot of people out there needing houses. There's a lot of old houses that need fixing up. Okay, any questions? If you've done a good fall semester project, third semester project, this is exactly the same system. Referencing. That's the main thing. Biggest difference. And please, as I said about your consultants, some are brilliant, some are fantastic, some are a little bit, need a bit of a kick to get them going, so go and kick them as early as you can. get those problem statements. All the best. Thank you for listening. Thank you.